This video is brought to you by Squarespace. I've been using Godot for over a year now, and what once was a mysterious engine with nodes and cute robots has now started to become a comfortable and cozy work environment. From 2D to 3D, I've experimented with different styles and genres of game. Heck, I've even messed around with shaders and networking, which I never thought I'd be doing in my first year. But now that this first year of Godot has come to an end, how do I feel about the engine? Is it still the wonderful engine that I fell in love with, or has the honeymoon period worn off, exposing all of its flaws? Well, it's time to get your critiquing caps on, pretend you're a Reddit user, and see how I really feel about Godot. But before we get started, Squarespace. Making your own website or online store can be a huge pain in the butt from scratch. Believe me, I've done it many times before. And the best way to cut the hassle is to use Squarespace. From selling your products online, making a portfolio or gallery of your work, or even something as tedious as image scaling is so much easier and saves you so much time with Squarespace. As the internet expands, I truly believe that everyone should have internet real estate, but creating your own website doesn't mean you have to be disconnected from social media. With Squarespace, you can connect your social profiles so that way you can instantly post on different platforms, making it fantastic and easy to post your new product or game. Make sure to go check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready, you're all set to launch, go to squarespace.com/Goodgis to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. To get things started, I'm going to share my pros and cons, what I like about the engine, what I don't like about the engine, and then I'll also share a couple little complaints or tips that people share that I agree with or disagree. Also know that this is my opinion and there's stuff in Godot I still have yet to do. With that said, let's get started with pro number 1, which is the node-based structure Godot has. Now I believe I mentioned this before in my Godot versus Unity video, but one thing that makes Godot so unique is its node-based structure. All objects and scenes are nodes, and they can be inside of other nodes to create more nodes. It did confuse me at first, but now that I understand it, it's perhaps one of the most efficient ways to develop your game. I can't tell you how many times I was using construct and I had to redo the same task over and over again, re-importing artwork, or having to duplicate objects so I could use them for different things. It was very frustrating and it was a waste of time. But with Godot, you could create a hitbox one time, but can use for your enemies, your player. Now I know the serious programmers are out there are gonna say, yeah, that's how you're supposed to be programming. A lot of game engines don't do that well, and they make it hard to reuse old code or old objects. But with Godot's node system, you're able to be really efficient and work once and use it a bunch of times. Now my first con for Godot is the lack of education resources. I feel like there's thousands of Unity tutorials out there where you can learn anything, even the most obscure things that you're trying to do. Where Godot, for the most part, if it's kind of obscure, chances are there may not be a tutorial or you have to read the manual, and even the manual can be vague sometimes. I remember when I was first learning multiplayer, there really wasn't a good resource and I had to look at 3 different game projects to kind of figure it out, and eventually there was a tutorial series that I could watch that helped me out. The good news though is that there's new channels popping up every single day creating fantastic tutorials. 2 channels I've been watching a bunch recently are Game Development Center and Garbage. Those guys are fantastic, they're doing great work and super beneficial for helping me learn Godot better. Make sure to check them out and show them some love. I think it's only a matter of time before we get more and more resources on Godot, but until then, it kinda is the Wild West for learning. Another thing I really like about Godot is GDScript. Now, some people will complain that GDScript isn't as fast as C++ or C#, but it really depends on what you're doing. I've never ran into issues with performance because of GDScript, and to be honest, it's saved me more time than it's cost. Being a mix of like Python and Lua, it's so easy to use and to read, and I find it really easy to come back and to work on old projects and not be confused about what I wrote or what I was doing. So GDScript gets an A+ in my book. Now I have been saying a lot of positive things about Godot, but one area where it's severely lacking is its 3D functionality. Basic things like level of detail don't really exist in Godot 3.0. If you want to improve performance or add level of detail, you have to do it yourself manually through code. There's also a list of other little things that you kind of need for good performance with 3D, especially if you have some decent graphics, that Godot is just lacking right now. Now, if you are making a smallish 3D game, heck, like Blizzard Blowout, I had no issues at all with performance. I think stylized games do really well. It's just really detailed, hyper-realistic games just don't perform as well. Like I said, it's never been an issue for me, but it's something that I've noted and people have talked about time and time again. Hopefully, Godot 4.0 will fix and improve these things. There's already a lot of features that are going to help. But for now, if you want to make hyper-realistic games, I don't know, stick to Unreal or Unity. They have more features, and I'm not going to cry. Okay. Now I want to talk about one of my favorite features in Godot, the animation player node. Oh my goodness, this is the most incredible node that I have seen in a game engine. Maybe this exists in other engines, but you basically can animate whatever you want in like an After Effects style setup in Godot. One of my favorite things is to animate weapons using it, and then you could change out the sprites and save yourself so much time with animating. You can make cutscenes with it, you can make effects, you can really do anything you want. Heck, I'm sure you can make just straight up animations out of it if you really wanted to. I really can't say enough good things about it. It's fantastic and it saves me time, and we all know I like to save time. Those were all my major pros and cons, but I real quickly want to go over some common complaints, whether they're true or false, and just things that I like. So this will be the lightning round. Let's get started. Number 1, the tile map system isn't that terrible, though I'm happy it's being updated. People complaining about it, it's really not that hard. Number 2, it does lack some features compared to Unity, mostly in the 3D area. It doesn't bother me, you can still make games, and honestly it's better to have limitations because it creates more creativity. Number 3, when you export a game, sometimes the executable icon is still of the Godot logo. It's annoying because you have to use Resource Hacker to change it, and I really wish they would fix it. Number 4 is the debug tool is incredibly helpful and something that all game engines should use. I really love it, and it saved me a lot of time. Number 5 is that Godot 4 will fix a lot of issues with 3D, but it's not going to fix everything. The people that are looking at it and be like, this is going to fix everything wrong, all the problems, it's not, but it will be a tremendous upgrade. So get excited for it. Whew. All right, are you still with me? Good. So now, even though I know Godot's limitations and flaws, you think I'd actually want to find something better, right? Well, no. Nowadays, everyone wants their game engine to have the capability to do everything, but I think that's the wrong perspective to have, especially in game dev. Limitations are where creative ideas are born. For example, look at Ocarina of Time. Even though the game had limited 3D graphics and they had to use billboards for things, the developers came up with clever ways to make the game world feel alive without making this massive open world game like we have nowadays. So do I still like Godot, and is it still worth it? Absolutely. I think I love it more than ever now that I know its flaws, because now I know the limits that I have when I can create my games. And it's only going to get better from here. So if you're interested in Godot, or maybe you use a different engine, I encourage you to explore it and to really get comfortable and learn as much about it as possible. Just stick with it and be committed, and you'll find that you'll be able to do way more than you thought you could. Anyway, I want to hear from you. What are some features that you like or don't like about Godot, or maybe the game engine you use? Also, I want to give a huge shout out to Buddy Games, Heath Sargent, and Rybread, and the rest of the fantastic Patreon supporters. Their support makes these videos possible, and we got some secret stuff going to be dropping on Patreon hopefully soon. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I'll see you next time for another game dev adventure.